Well, good morning, Abundant Harvest. I'm here in Maryland with Brother Ken. And last night he shared part of his testimony. And as we are talking about the importance of +1 conversations where we engage an outsider, Ken was telling us about his story when he was far from Christ, how God would send people, and these +1 conversations were really instrumental in you coming to the Lord. Why don't you tell the church, just to encourage them in their role as a laborer that mingles with the community, on the importance of the +1 conversations?
So before I came to Jesus, of course, I was bound up in drugs. My life was out of control. And I'm going to tell you, there were actually 2 types of conversations going on. The devil was sending witnesses into my life constantly. With people that would say, and some of them were Christians, that would say, you'll never change, you'll never amount to anything, you'll be a drug addict until the day you die. But then God also was raising up witnesses, and, you know, as you term it, +1, people that would come into my life and just deliver a message of hope. And so there were several, but specifically the one you were interested in, I was walking down the road one day. I'd just gotten out of jail, was in a lot of trouble, huge amount of trouble. In fact, it was trouble that eventually kind of worked together to bring me to the place where God saved me. But I was walking down the road, had just wrecked my car, just got out of jail, and a girl pulled up in her car, and I knew this girl, but I hadn't seen her for like a year. And her name was Pat. Pat was a female version of Kim Pounder. She was a druggie, out of control, wild.
And you used to run with her, right?
Yes, we partied together. She and I never dated. She dated some of my best friends. And so we had hung together and partied together. I hadn't seen her for a year. Well, the reason I hadn't seen her for a year is because she had found the Lord and went into a ministry called Outreach Ministries, which is the ministry that I direct today.
I didn't know she went through that ministry.
Yes, she actually did. And so I'm walking down the street, she pulled up, and literally this girl was glowing. Her eyes especially were just vibrant and alive. And I mean, I was so overwhelmed, I looked at her, I said, Pat, what in the world? What happened to you? Where you been? She began to tell me what Christ had done in her life. But at the conclusion of that conversation, she said to me, Ken, if Jesus Christ can change my life, he can change your life. And I could never escape those words. And it was probably another year and a half before I came to Christ. But those words stayed inside of me. Just those simple words that she said. Over and over again, the Lord would speak to my heart and say, if I can change her, I can change you. And so, you know, it all eventually worked together that it was go to prison, or the judge gave me the opportunity to go to Outreach Ministries of Alabama. I had no idea that's where she had went. And so the day I showed up at that ministry, we had to stop by the women's home on the way to the men's home, and Pat came walking out.
No way.
Yeah, she came walking out on the porch, and she pointed at me. I was sitting in a vehicle. She pointed at me. She said, Kim Pounders, I prayed you into this program. And I have no doubt that she did.
So that was a +1. That you left there without knowing it, 1 step closer to Christ. Because her words, Holy Spirit, continue to bring that back to you.
I might say 100 steps closer to Christ. Because, there were a few people God used, but that was kind of the kicker that brought me to the place where I knew, you know, Jesus is my only hope. And it was still a year and a half. And, you know, I want your people to think about that. Everything doesn't happen right now.
She didn't see you pray the sinner's prayer.
No.
But she spoke hope and truth into you. And you left, and she had no evidence that she had done anything.
But she has evidence now, because she's still a friend of my wife and I. And on a regular basis, when I talk to her, I say, I'm so grateful that you talked to me about Jesus.
That's awesome. So, as we conclude this video, any final thoughts to the congregation as we prepare for their next movie night and just living our lives for Jesus? Any final thoughts of encouragement about +1 conversations?
Absolutely. In fact, what I want to say is be bold. Be bold about your faith in Jesus Christ. And I know there's a world out there that, you know, wants you to think that they're offended. But actually, out there in the midst of the offended is a lot of people that are hurting, they're desperate, and they're looking for an answer. And you've got the answer. So be bold and share that answer.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ken.